Welcome to another episode of the Rob and Jay Show, OIS podcast, here at OIS XIV in San Diego. Jay and I have continued to rope in some high-quality people for these interviews, give them an opportunity to talk about what they're doing here, why they're excited, and in continuing that tradition, we are pleased to introduce Eric Schlumpf, who is the CEO of Stuart Therapeutics, a company that I am intimately familiar with.
Yes,
and Eric is going to tell us why I think he's probably one of the hottest companies at this meeting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We really appreciate the opportunity to be at OIS and participate in it because it's such a great gathering of folks. Why are we the hottest company at OIS?
Why don't you tell us, Eric? Tell us what Stuart Therapeutics is doing these days.
Well, Stuart has been developing a new drug class, which is a synthesized polypeptide that's a mimic of a fractional strand of collagen. And it sounds like a very simple thing, but it has a pretty profound effect in tissues. And it repairs disease-damaged collagen, and in that repair, it changes the way that cell signaling happens in the tissues, and we found that it's beneficial to endothelial cells, epithelial cells, and nerve cells and processes. So when you think about the eye and you think about epithelial cells, endothelial cells, nerve cells, and processes, right, you kind of just went from the front to the back. And when we worked this all out, we started in dry eye, and we're an anterior segment company, and we're grinding away at that. And then we started looking at other areas and other opportunities, and every single one of the studies that we've done have just come back with some profound effects in animal models, in vitro models, et cetera. So it's broadened the horizon for us. One of the things we wanted to do in this visit to OIS today was to talk about how we're expanding into these new indication areas, what our opportunities look like, and how that really increases the value of the company for the shareholders and the opportunity for patients ultimately. So that was our big objective.
So are you taking a pivot now, because a lot of folks did look at you as a dry eye asset?
Right.
And sometimes there's cynicism on that one company or one product.
Right.
Can be for everything. Can be for this, can be for Retina, for AMD, for fungal, for this, for that, and this and that and so forth. So are you still sticking with the mantra of your dry eye program and then taking the learnings from that, the signals from that, and applying to other indications, or how are you parsing that out?
Yeah, I think you have to be a little bit realistic, because the industry gets embedded attitudes, right? Either from investors or strategics or whoever, and you have to play in that world. When we first got the technology, I knew that it had applicability in lots of different indication areas. So we had hopes that it would be something like this in the eye. We didn't have any idea that it would have the kind of impact that led us to a deal with Glaukos and neuroprotection glaucoma, led us to some pretty astounding results in inherited retinal disease models, and and the latest stuff is just very, very interesting repair of vascular damage. So when you start putting all those pieces together, it kind of forces you into looking at the entirety of the eye. And more directly to your question, what do you do about a company that's looked at as an anterior segment company?
Right.
I think what I got out of the meeting, the last OIS meeting, and then the Aura Dry Eye Symposium was, there was a whole bunch of talk about how dry eye is going to be a multi-drug thing. And I started thinking about what we have. We got a drug that's got a comprehensive impact on the eye, on dry eye, and the impacts of dry eye on patients. So I think we want to embrace dry eye, because I think the comprehensive approach to the therapeutic, to the indication, means that we got a chance to really kind of jump over everybody in dry eye, and I'm okay with that. And if we can capitalize on that with a strategic partner to help get the commercial value out of that, awesome. If we need to carry that forward along with these other assets, we'll figure out a way to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously dry eye it was a great place to start, and just going back to our original investment thesis, it seemed like the easiest place. We always knew that there was going to be other applications, just because pathophysiologically it makes sense. Collagen's such a critical component to almost all wound healing and almost every disease state.
Yep, exactly.
So the fact that you've borne those out is correct, but you're pretty far along in the dry eye program, right?
We are. We got. We'll recruit our last patient, randomize our last patient end of next week or the end of the following week. We're juggling the holidays because the visit can't land on Christmas, even in Australia. So we'll wrap it up. We'll get the data package roughly the end of January, beginning of February, give or take a few days. And we're going to start having conversations with folks that are interested in it. I think we're very hopeful. The breadth of impacts that we got in the dry eye trial were pretty amazing, and I started getting more and more excited about the visual acuity aspect of our endpoints. That was kind of one of those things we saw, and we thought, okay, well, but staining, and all these other things, because those were popular and important things that people we were talking with were advising us about. But I started thinking about visual acuity, and you talk about a differentiator in a dry eye therapeutic. If you can get visual acuity score improvement rapidly, that's a really nice story to have. So we're pretty excited about that. I hope that one repeats. Obviously, the primary endpoint is Schirmer's responder rate, which we have a pretty good degree of confidence in, and the study's powered nicely. So we'll see what happens.
And you've managed to get strategics interested in some of your other programs as well. And some of the science is compelling enough where you've actually gotten some funding to initiate work on the neuroprotection aspect of your molecule. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Sure. So when we started the company, the dry eye program was paramount, and one of our key advisors and just a fantastic part of the team is David Hawkins at Vanderbilt University. And David's got a full-time job at Vanderbilt Hospital, but he was bugging me from the day we started. We got to test this in neuroprotection. We got to test this in glaucoma. I really think this is going to go somewhere. And I kept putting him off because we had other fish to fry. But finally, about a year in, I said, fine, let's run some studies. Unbelievable outcomes in nerve crush, microbead occlusion model study, all the acronyms for glaucoma testing in animals. And we started, and we were engaging with strategics at the time, and we sat down and we looked at Glaukos' portfolio, and it became clear to me that, look, if you've got a lot of delivery technologies, but you don't have any apparent play in neuroprotection, let's sit down and let's talk about that. And over about a 6-month period of time, we worked out a deal, and they were aggressive about it and licensed our glaucoma program for neuroprotection, one of our sequences for neuroprotection. And I think that that's a great thing for us, because as we look at things with a team of 6 or 7 folks, we can't go run trials in 9 different indications. So if we find one and there's interest, and we can take advantage of that and build credibility for the program and the platform, that's goodness for us. So we're excited about that aspect.
I mean, neuroprotection is a huge unmet need, there's no doubt. Dry eye, Allergan led it for so many years, did a great job for it, almost unopposed. Then Lifitegrast came out, it's had different owners, now it's had Bausch. Restasis went generic, still doing relatively well, but now you have the entrance of Mibo, Lifitegrast obviously at Bausch, you have Vivi, you have Sequa. I mean, it's a great time in dry eye. So, and the market wants it, and now there's DTC campaigns, so this two-prong approach or multi-prong approach, I actually appreciate that, what you're doing, because sometimes it's very hard to be sequential. First we'll do dry eye, then this and that. That could take 6, 7, 8 years. So if you're saying it's hot, it gives you signals.
Well, we wanted to
pivot.
We like the multiple shots on goal concept is a good one for everybody, right? I think one of the interesting challenges that's occurred over the last couple of years is with the funding difficulties and the post-COVID biotech decline and everything else. It's put a number of companies into a situation that's kind of like us. If you had a program in the clinic before all that happened, and you figure out a way to survive and get that into the clinic for the next stage, and you have other opportunities, all the other opportunities are early stage, because you can't get enough money to feed the beast to do all of those. And I think from our perspective, we're early in all these other things, but we've really been able to surround each of these with some really nice proof of concept data. And I think we're ready. We're ready today to go into the clinic in myopia subject to funding, and I think we could be ready within 4 months to go to FDA and get something rolling and get formulations done and so forth for a retinal indication. We just have to finalize our decision on that.
Yeah, I mean, myopia is, again, so you think about neuroprotection, it's a big topic at this meeting about trying to finally look at ways to protect both the retina and the optic nerve, regardless of our ability to, give anti-VEGF therapy or lower intraocular pressure, really looking at the end organ damage and trying to prevent that. So here you are at the forefront of that. And then, there was a comment made that, the leading cause of blindness in the world is refractive error, right? Pathologic myopia. And now you actually have data to support that you might have some impact on myopia as well.
Just got animal data back about 60 days ago on that and showed significant restoration of posterior scleral integrity. So that, to me, our game is always working on the tissues that are damaged by the disease. And that's what happens in myopia. That tissue gets sloppy and relaxed, and the axial length gets bigger, and you get kids with problems. So that's a really exciting area. And I think with it's also an area that looks a lot like dry eye did when we got started in dry eye. There was very little creativity in dry eye at that time. It was basically a cyclosporin and maybe an agonist kind of world. When you look at myopia, it's an atropine world, and maybe I can do a low-dose atropine, maybe I can find a different way to deliver atropine, but you keep hearing atropine, atropine, atropine. We're highly differentiated there. I mean, very, very different kind of
And then the beauty, again, part of it is that you're a collagen mimetic.
Yeah.
I mean, safety is, you're basically figuring out how to repair collagen with something that looks like collagen.
Yeah.
So from a safety profile, we don't have to be too concerned.
Yeah, I think we're, everything about the active ingredient, the one active ingredient that we've created for a trial, which is ST100 or vasocomatide, is it's a slightly acidic salt, and you just dissolve it in the vehicle, and we made a very friendly vehicle, so we can kind of control the patient-friendly nature of that. What we didn't know for sure, but we felt, was that the safety profile of it was going to be good, and it turned out to be very good, because it's basically amino acids that the body sees and says, oh yeah, I know you, go on about your business. And the other element of safety that was a question that got raised a number of times is, oh my gosh, are you going to create fibrosis, and are you going to bind to healthy collagen? And we've not only showed in the phase 2 trial that didn't appear to be happening, but we've also done a number of different preclinical study design where we're actually using atomic force microscopy to measure deposition, and at a unbelievably infinitesimal level. It's just ridiculous to see how we can prove that it doesn't bind to healthy tissues. It only binds to damaged tissues. So a lot of work been going on, and a lot of publications as well.
Well, I think you've just explained why you're a pretty popular company these days.
Maybe
I
so.
think you kind of just talked yourself into it.
You're an R&D company in myriad indications.
It's a good team. We've been blessed to have some really, really solid investigation capability, and the relationship with Vanderbilt and at Rochester has been a huge boon to us. And I think assembling a team of people that know startups and know how to do things in a capital efficient way is kind of critical, because you're only as good as your runway. And that's been hard to come by over the last couple of years.
Yes, it has. You're preaching to the wrong choir, buddy.
I know.
Yeah.
As we round out the interview, Eric, what keeps you up at night?
I think making the right choices in the retina indication that we choose is one thing that I want to make sure we do. I don't think I like the idea of a 2-year, 3-year trial timeline. That doesn't feel good to me. We always look for ways to try to identify a foreshortened trial, because I think our mechanism of action allows us to look at things that can happen faster. So that's one thing. Obviously, capital resources are another thing that keeps me up at night. We got to get through the trial, so I try to put that aside. That phase 3 trial result's going to be pretty important to us. And then I just think the overall health of the strategics in ophthalmology is something that I wouldn't call it concerning to me, but it's just, it's not an aggressive, I want to create a win mentality that's out there right now. That's my sense of things.
It's guarded.
It's a recurring theme from our interviews, and I think everybody's making it pretty clear to the strategics they need to step it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll maybe watch some of these interviews, or maybe they'll be in there, listening to this and understand that we're all expecting a lot of increased activity from them.
Or maybe they'll look at me and say, I got to get those assets out of that guy's hands so I can actually do something with them.
Maybe. All right, Jay, go ahead. Ask the question.
It's the famous weekend, November 22nd. 2 great movies this weekend: Gladiator or Wicked.
So, Gladiator, by far.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Eric Schlumpf from Stuart Therapeutics, thank you for taking the time to be on our podcast today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Congratulations.
Yeah.